look, you can interpret, like, here's the thing. There's multiple ways to look at it. My thing is, I look at it like praying at Times Square exacerbates the problem and gives all of these idiots the ammunition they need to justify and say, look, they're trying to take over, because hysteria is how they're able to push the propaganda by saying, look, they're praying in Times Square, right, right next to where 9/11 happened. Like they use that to their advantage. So like, I understand from your perspective, you're looking at it like, hey, we're showing unity, we're showing that we could pray peacefully, etc. We're not a violent people, but that's assuming that people aren't retarded and aren't going to use that for their own, political pursuits. And we've seen the Zionist lobby and the Jews use this excuse to say, look, see, they're trying to take over, blah, 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 despite the fact that they're only 1 to 2% of the population. That is why I had my disagreements with the Times Square prayer, because I know how they're going to utilize that to push anti-Muslim propaganda and rhetoric. That's why
that's playing into it, right? And getting angry at it does play into their hand, because if you watch the footage, everybody was peaceful. There were people counter-protesting and blowing whistles and banging pots and pans and trying to agitate the same way Zionist Jews like Jake Lang were trying to infiltrate it and make it violent. We maintained peace. It was sanctioned off by the police. We weren't blocking traffic. It was in a walking area. Nothing was interrupted. So if they are saying, okay, this happened in New York, well, people are starting to figure out a lot more truths about 9/11, to put it lightly. So abiding by the lies is not how you win. It's fighting back with the truth.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. No, look,
to go about it. Like,
I don't think first of all, what I said previously, by the way, when we streamed about that, I don't know if you took that as like us trying to come free. We weren't at all, but we were just talking about the topic because it was all the hype at that time. But I mean, look, in regards to the prayer in that salah, I think it was a tarawih prayer, and I think it was only one day. Was it a day or was it a week? What was
just one night?
Yeah, it was just one night. Look, I'm not trying to give you this angle because I'm sympathizing with those who aren't Muslim, and I'm saying, well, you guys shouldn't be there and you shouldn't pray. And never did I even say it's haram. There's no problem with that. My issue is from the perspective of Islam. I think it's better to always pray in a masjid, especially when there's a larger benefit being your reward with that of Allah.
Doesn't Allah say the whole world is a masjid?
The whole world is a masjid, but the actual houses that are built for Allah are better to pray, and your reward is larger if you pray inside of a masjid rather than outside with a bunch of people in congregation. So it's better to pray in a masjid and you're rewarded more, and you can fact check me on that. Regardless of that, though, that's true. The whole world is a masjid except for certain places, one of those being the street. However, I understand Times Square is not necessarily a street with cars, tons of foot traffic. You guys blocked it off. You had it sanctioned by police, and so people could walk around. What I'm saying, could it cause a disturbance for those who are not concerned with themselves? 100%. Does it put a battery in the back for retards who follow Laura Loomer and Jake Lang? 100%. Are most people going to see that and just walk by and not care? Yes. But I think all those things can't exist at the same time and don't cancel one another out. I think it's better for Muslims to pray inside of a mosque, not only for the religious reward, but as well as the fact that you do invoke some sort of attack or harm that isn't necessary when the reward is less than that of praying in the street. I don't see the return on investment, in my opinion. Now, in regards to Muslims saying, well, we want to celebrate our religion, we want to make sure that we're heard and felt, totally understand that, but I don't look at Islam that way. That's kind of like, to me, and this is not any diss or attack on any of the guys who responded to you or you yourself, but I think that's kind of like a left-wing kind of coping mechanism. Like, well, we want to celebrate and we want to feel like we're heard. Like, Islam is to be practiced. It's in the masjid. You do your tarawih, you do your siyam, you do your fasting, you fulfill your 5 prayers. And I love da'wah, but I think da'wah should be done in an effective manner to where it's direct rather than indirect.
It was effective.
I suppose you can.
I think it showed what we're really about. I saw the people responding to it, and especially in comparison with the raid for the Antichrist the next day. I think people were learning what Muslims are about, and if they
worse. That's way worse.
Yeah, it's worse. But not only that, you said like, okay, so the rewards are greater in a masjid and not in a place where, if you don't consider a dawah, then sure. But if you're going to go based off rewards because there's more rewards in a masjid, then you should only play in Mecca. That's where you get 100,000 times rewards, right? Then if you're going to say that there's more rewards here, then every prayer should be in Al-Aqsa, Medina, or Mecca.
Yeah, 100%, but that's kind of a non sequitur because not everybody lives in Mecca and Medina. They don't have the ability financially to always pray in Mecca or Medina.
What if you don't have the financial capabilities to Uber to
go to a mosque?
Yeah.
To go to a masjid?
In New York City,
everybody lives near a mosque. What do you mean?
Last night, for example, perfect anecdotal evidence. I went to go pray to Hajj, and all the mosques were closed in New York City. I had to go into New Jersey. Think about how many people in New York City are looking to pray at night for the special prayers, and there's not even something open. So if we have the street, if we have this area that's sanctioned off and people want to pray with others, and this was available and the police sanctioned it off and they said it was okay, nobody broke any laws, then
in the case, yeah, I understand you. In the case where you cannot get to a masjid, then it's totally fine to pray in public. And by the way, I've prayed in public when I had to. If I can't get to a masjid, sun setting, I'm like, yo, we don't have time. I'm with my boys. We'll pray on the corner really quick. What I'm saying is a mass congregation in Times Square, to me, just seems unnecessary. Now, you may argue, okay, but it's da'wah. We had people convert to Islam. We had people look at the religion in a different way that they never looked at it before.
We did.
Sure, you can't bank on everybody to think that way, but I'm assured that's a positive outcome. But you also have to believe that Allah guides whom He wills. Allah yahdi man yasha. It says this in the Quran numerous times. And so if Allah has the will to guide somebody, whether it's you praying in public or them seeing a Muslim indirectly or them walking into a mosque or stumbling onto Islam on their phone, I think that Allah's qadr, as we were just talking about, Allah's will, Allah's perfect destiny, will lead that person to Islam regardless of your actions that you try and take. What you can do to increase the initiative or further that motive is take to the street like what Warner does. I love what he does. Open a table, sit there, have your Qur'ans, maybe, have your speaker, have discourse with people. For that, I think that's amazing. But praying in public and
that was part of it.
Again,
we also had the dawah tables. We were giving out Qurans. I think several hundred Qurans were given out.
And that's great. I think that's great. I think the public prayer with the speaker is provocative. I do think it is. Now, I know that's not the goal, but I just think it can come off that way. And when Muslims are already when Muslims are already demonized, that's a bad idea, because instead we can pray in our masajid, and when there is a false flag attack, they don't have any evidence to say, well, look, they're trying to take over, and that won't be weaponized against us. Go ahead. You were going to talk.
Right. So we were giving out Qurans. It is a form of dawah, and comparing it, I think now what's good is you can compare the outrage that you see about Times Square prayer to a literal war going on. I'm seeing far more like American nationalists spiking cortisol and getting so upset about Times Square prayer. But then when we see a literal war.
And I said, Sneako, swear to God, I said in my intro video, you can go on my YouTube channel and check it. The first thing I said was, if you're an American and you're concerned about this mass prayer more than the Epstein files, more than the Iran war, more than our government being subverted, then you're an idiot. And I'm not speaking to those people. And that's what it points out. I promise you,
that's what it points out.
The people that I'm speaking to are understood. The people that I'm speaking to are the Muslims. I feel like we should go about our ibadah differently. That's my whole take. But that's kind of like something I have to really substantiate and make sure I specify. I'm not responding to the Ziotards who follow Jake Lang and Laura Luma. The Muslims are taking over. They're in the streets. They're taking over. They wanted to rape your daughters. I'm not talking about those people. I'm speaking to the fact that Muslims should not pray in public. If there's a masjid available, unless they cannot get to said masjid, then khalas, go ahead, pray in the street, whatever it is. I have no issue with that. But I think a mass congregation at a time of tension politically creates obstacles for Muslims that wouldn't have been there had we just did da'wah with the table. That's like my whole stance.
I don't think it created any problems for Muslims in America. I think it showed Muslims in America, look, these people are fearless and they're praying in a place where it's considered provocative. And you brought that up. Why is it even considered provocative?
Because you have a loudspeaker and you're praying for hours at a time when there's plenty of masajid available. That's constitutionally protected.
Why it's provocative to people? Because
could I make the argument that let me just say this. Sorry. If somebody's walking by, can you guarantee they want to hear that or see that? And I'm not saying we have to appease to everybody, but we have a shared space in the United States. So that's why it can be provocative. That's why I say that.
The only people that it was provocative to are the ones that traveled all the way there just to counter protest. Everybody else there, they were like peaceful. I saw like white moms hugging their daughters, like watching the prayer. They loved it. Also, it's Times Square. Times Square is the worst part of New York City. Everyone in New York, we hate Times Square. People don't go there. And if you are going to Times Square to find complete peace and quiet, you're stupid, because this is probably the biggest tourist destination in the world, where you're going to hear loud King Kongs, people dressed like Mario, black people doing flips over each other, doing Showtime. This is where people congregate. It's like a town square in a way. And you see tons of protests all the time. There's been Iranian protest, the Western Iranian diaspora protesting and begging Bibi and Trump for more nukes. You see Venezuelans who are like, yay, regime change. This is where people go. So to go there like, oh man, I really wanted peace and quiet in Times Square.
It's a melting pot.
Like, what did you expect in Times Square?
I agree with that. That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying people are going to Times Square looking for peace. What I'm saying is, if Muslims are a minority and Muslims are in Times Square praying, maybe not all these white moms that aren't screaming like Jake Lang and Laura Loomer are going to express their discontent or their frustration when Muslims praying in public, but maybe that's felt. Now, I'm not even speaking from an apologist perspective for white people. I'm not saying white people need to be happy and so we shouldn't do this. What I'm saying is step one, or the first foundation of my argument, is it's better to pray in a masjid. I don't think any Muslim would disagree with that, and there's plenty of masajid in New York City. On top of that, there is an aspect, yeah, but you don't have always access to Medina. You're always going to be in the United States.
I mean, we wouldn't have even all fit. We wouldn't have all like there was.
You said earlier there could be a financial block to getting to a masjid, so somebody may have to pray.
We wouldn't. All those people that came to Times Square. There's not one masjid in New York where all of us would have fit. There's too many.
Okay, but there's several masajid in New York, no?
But if we all want to congregate,
so do you guys always have to go?
If we want to have a place where one night for an hour that's sanctioned off where we all want to pray together and everybody in New York could be at one place one time, then halas is fine. But we would not have all
Then why not a park? Then why not a park?
What park?
That's what I had said. Maybe a park would be a little bit better, somewhere secluded, not in the middle of Times Square.
But
that's like the most optical place ever.
Here's the thing.
That's my point as well.
Here's the thing.
And I was gonna go ahead.
About the park. The same people will complain about the park. The same people who hate this prayer and think it's provocative and think it's bad will see Muslims praying quietly in the park, and then they start harassing them and yelling at them, and they're like, "Oh, base patriot, interrupting people." Even when you pray in a park where there's less people walking around, you have the same exact outrage because it's not about interrupting anything. It's about the fact that they hate Islam already. So seeing people practice their religion makes them angry. So whether or not you're in Central Park or watching,
I'm not speaking to them. They're idiots. If Muslims are praying in a park, which by the way, on Eid, when there's hundreds of thousands of Muslims who take to the masajid to pray, they're going to leak out into the parking lot, into the street, into the park. That's fine because that's Eid or any other special occasion. But what I'm saying, if it's Tarawih, everybody can make it to a masjid. I know you're saying there's a greater reward in Medina. No one's going to fly to Medina for every single salah unless you live in Medina and you're blessed that way. But you will still get a far larger reward from then praying in the street to praying in a masjid. So you should go to a masjid. Now, in regards to people getting mad about praying in a park, I'm not speaking to those retards. Those guys are idiots. And my argument simply comes from, I think this is more beneficial for Muslims because of not only the reward aspect, but as well as the fact that it can create obstacles later where people will say, well, why do you have to impose your religion on us? Why do you have to publicly pray? And I don't think that that's a sound argument to try and defend all the time when from your religion, you're told to pray in a masjid, as well as the fact that I said this in the stream. I'm not saying anybody was showing off. I gave you guys kudos, actually. I said that Warno and Sneako, I think their intentions are pure, and I don't think anything they're doing is vehemently wrong or anything like that, but it can open the door to wanting your prayer to be seen. This is an aspect called the Ryad, which is a pillar of prayer where if you don't have, or sorry, this is not a pillar of prayer is khushu' where you focus. That can mess it up too. People banging pots and pans, they throw something at you, that hurts your salah, as well as the fact that you never know if somebody's heart is intercepted and maybe they feel like they're showing off and they want people to see them praying. This can also nullify the salah. So it opens up the door for other evils as well. I'm not saying those will manifest, and I'm not saying those manifested in you. I don't think so. I think you're genuine in your actions, but I think there's that potentiality which further concludes or further perpetuates my point. Yeah. Hey, maybe we should just go to a masjid instead. And I get it. Listen, it was one night. Dude, I'm not the one going, what the fuck? But when I see people outraged, I'm going, well, I don't think the Muslims should have prayed there. But don't misconstrued what I'm saying or like convolute my position to be
you're in Myron's position. Muslims. You guys have a different.
Me and Myron agree. Myron has a little bit more of a nationalistic perspective where it's like, hey, we're guests here, and there's an argument to be made for that as well. Here. We make up a very large.
I'm born here. I'm not a guest.
We make up the premise, not really the saying, because I guess it's abrasive in the way you take it when he says it that way. But we're a minority here. You can say that, and so Muslims only make up 1.1, 1.3, I think, percent of the United States. We're a minority, which is why anybody who's complaining is a retard. But simultaneously, you also have the fact that since we're a minority, we have to practice a little bit of proactivity in making sure that we're praying inside of our mosques and not praying in the street. That can cause tension or backlash from it. Right. But
I'll give you my response.
We agree to disagree. I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
I want to respond. You said that it might interrupt your salah and everything. Of course, it's more peaceful in a masjid. Like last night, somebody's ringer was going off, and that was the most distracted and infuriating thing. Anybody can relate. When someone's phone's going off and you really want to lock in for Qiyam or Tarawih, and then I turn off the phone and it's distracting. But there was an instance where you have the enemies of Islam, and you can even see that they start ramping up at specific types of recitation. And when I was praying there, it actually strengthened my deen because it made me more aware of the enemies and where we are. And if you're talking about reward specifically, I think that there is a reward in dawah. And I'm not a scholar. I don't know how to relate it specifically, but there is value in the land of Epstein regime with so much propaganda. Showing unity and fighting back against that propaganda and showing Muslims all over the country that we don't need to be afraid, that we don't need to submit to all the propaganda calling us terrorists and evil people, showing what we're about, which is worshiping the one true God, the same God that in the Catholic Church, they say that we worship the Father. Showing what we're about and showing what the religion is in this world of so much propaganda, there's value in that. I think it inspires a lot of people. I think it points out the double standard, and and I think it helps out the
Okay,
Ummah in general.
Wallahi, I agree. Wallahi, I agree with you. Firstly, if a phone goes off in a mosque, that's really annoying, but that's still not akin to people banging pots and pans and bright lights going off everywhere around you if you're in Times Square. But that's definitely true. In regards to indirect da'wah, can praying be effective? Yes. Something that I think is more effective and Muslims have the opportunity to seize every day is how you carry yourself as a Muslim. No one's going to open a Quran more often than not. So how you carry yourself, your demeanor, is that of a Quran, is that of hadith. That's what people are going to take at face value for Islam. So I think da'wah is great. I think doing a da'wah table like Sheikh Uthman, may Allah bless him, Sheikh Warner, may Allah bless him. But I think even a more effective way of da'wah is your character, your actions, your demeanor. I think that speaks volumes louder. I think that that makes a far larger or wider pitch than that of praying in public with the speaker. I think that that can turn people off the right way. I think the message may not actually penetrate the receiving source correctly if you're praying in public. I think there can be some disconnect there. Whereas if my actions, my demeanor, my character is A1 and everybody goes, Ryad's the only Muslim I know, and man, that guy doesn't do this, that guy doesn't do that, this guy's really sweet, he's gracious, I saw him help an old lady cross the street, whatever the hell, right? These are just random situations. Well, then I think that's more effective, and I think that's more charitable, or that has a lot more grace in traveling a further distance than that of maybe praying in Times Square.
The thing is, though, they're never going to be, they hate Islam. So whether it's a dawah table, whether it's your character.
I forgot this. I'm sorry. I forgot this. Also, you said we're in a battle and so we have to fight and stand our ground. I don't think that's the case. I think we're in the United States. I don't think anybody's going out of their way to attack Muslims now. If it was 2002 post 9/11, after Muslims were demonized and my mom was actually attacked in public before, then that's a different situation. But for it to be like this battle, I think the battle is won through peace by us showing people that we're better than them, by not responding to their hate of Islam, by praying in their face. Rather, we go to our masajid. Our religion is growing the fastest already. Why is there this need to do this big public display of da'wah in order for people to understand we're effectuating our religion quicker than others? The religion is doing the ground covering by itself because I think it's true, because I think it makes sense. It's most coherent. And I've said that on stream. But I think Islam is already covering so much ground without us having to pray. When we pray, then we add fuel to that argument of, well, why are they imposing themselves? You know what I mean? I feel like more of a coexisting idea or a package of Islam.
They don't want to coexist. They don't want to coexist. Look at what the congressman.
But you can't please everybody. I agree. You can't please everybody.
No matter what. The thing is, Ryad, the thing is, no matter what we do, if it's a dawah table, if it's your character, the existence of Muslims, the people that are warmongering freaks supporting Zionism that control the administration and the government right now, are trying to deport us, and they've made it clear, word for word, they want us eradicated from this country regardless. No matter what you do, if it's a dawah table, if it's you reading Quran in public, if it's you speaking to somebody, just your existence they see as a threat, not because of terrorism, but because it is the truth. And we can't ever try to compromise, or no matter what. I can understand you're saying okay, maybe this is too big of a public display. No matter what we do, they are going to try to use us as the enemy to make people think that this war is justified. Everything that the Israelis are doing, they accuse Muslims of. Terrorism.
I agree.
Spreading hate.
I agree. Fully agree.
So
fully agree. And
the way I see it, of course, I'm not here trying to spread Sharia law, but compromising and thinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't pray here to try to offend anybody. Living in that state of compromise is not how I want to exist.
But I don't think it's compromise. I think it's respectful coexistence. And you're saying, well, people are attacking Islam no matter what we do. That's fine. Fuck them. If a Muslim is praying on the corner because he can't make it to Maghrib in time and the sun is setting, he has to break his fast, whatever, let him pray. If anybody attacks him, he's an idiot. If some American patriot's on the beach or in the park saying, you Muslims need to get the fuck out, he's a retard. I'm not speaking to that. What I'm saying, though, is if we have a situation that could have been avoided like Times Square and people are responding to that, then I'll address it. But if a Muslim is doing something that he needs to do, if he's fasting, if a woman is wearing her hijab, if a Muslim's practicing in a way that he can't avoid practicing that way publicly or privately, then that's different. People who speak to that are dumbasses. But I can kind of understand the voice that says, hey, does the prayer really need to have to be in Times Square for an hour with the loudspeaker? I can hear that. I can understand that. And so that's why I give the Islamic perspective. Hey, this isn't even beneficial from Islam. If Islam said, pray in public, impose yourself, let people know how you pray, or even, I won't weaponize the language. Okay, I'll be fair, I'll be charitable. Islam says, pray in public, it's better. Pray where people can see you. Always pray in public. If the message available is still better, then I would never be saying that. But I just believe from a religious perspective, as well as everything else I mentioned from optics, it's just not the best ROI type of situation. Although I can understand what you're saying. Muslims are under attack. You should never compromise. But that means you should still try and coexist. Don't let you trying to not compromise turn into a lack of coexistence. Oh, they don't want to let me say Allahu Akbar. They don't want to let me read my Quran. Fuck that. I'm about to pray in Times Square every day. It's like, no,
but it is
just
coexisting.
Coexist peacefully. But it is and do your da'wah indirectly by good character and morale.
It is coexisting peacefully. We have freedom of religion in this country. Nobody was infringing upon anybody. Nobody was being blocked. The police allowed us to be there. We didn't break a law. You're supposed to obey the law of the land.
I agree. I didn't say
there was no aspect showing that nothing was interrupted.
Look, from legality, 100% fine. Even from haram halal level, halal. Do I think maybe it's makruh a little bit? Sure. And I've seen scholars say that you shouldn't pray in Times Square. But I know there's scholars who will say you should pray in Times Square. I won't even speak to the scholars. I'm just speaking politically and culturally. Maybe not the best moves for Muslims if we want longevity in our religion to spread in an organic fashion. That's my point. And everything I said kind of ties into that. But
looking back, I think there were more positives than negatives. And I know you and Myron had different takes on it. Myron was like,
you had permits. It was blocked off. The police were protecting it. I didn't say it was illegal.
No. I know. I didn't say that. You guys had different. Yeah. Myron was a lot angry about it. He said it was a horrible idea. And, you said a lot of things. Like, what else did you say? Like, you're going to stay Muslim because you want to keep the IQ up and that these people are interrupting. Yeah, you guys have different takes. But overall,
bro, that's sarcasm. If you actually took it verbatim, that was clearly sarcasm.
So what was your perspective?
I'll say this, though.
What was your perspective, Myron?
When I said that on Twitter that I would say Muslims.
Overall, your take on the Times Square prayer.
It's completely unnecessary and retarded.
Yeah, looking back, I think it did a lot more positives.
I think my brother articulated from a religious perspective why it's retarded. I think it's retarded from a social and political perspective. It's just there's like no upside really to it, like at all.
Yeah, it changed so many people's perspective about it. It showed the different outrage that people have. I think it pointed out a lot of the double standards, and it made people less fearful to be Muslim in America. And if people are having Iranian protests like with loudspeakers, they're screaming in public. They have gay pride parades there. The fact that people are what it shows is that this is what is most hated in America. What's most hated over everything.
We've known that since 9/11. We didn't need to.
Not. But everybody now realizes that because there's not 1% of the outrage about Iran protests, about gay pride parades, or even about an Antichrist celebration. If everybody is going to, oh my God, they're praying Times Square. This is
because I'm older than you, bro. Because I am significantly older than both of you guys, dude. It's always been Muslims have always been the top ops, bro. They've always been.
But unjustly, and that's what to point out. Because look, we're being peaceful.
I agree with you. It's unjustly, but you got to remember, doing stuff like praying at Times Square, which is a culturally significant location, by the way.
For what?
That's very
Times Square is American culture.
I know.
Yeah,
New York City is the biggest city in the United States. Times Square
is culturally significant. I live in New York. I was born here. I know you're born in New York too. It's culturally significant to show ads with like half-naked women, to show Goy Slop TV, so people could sell drugs and CDs, so people could do backflips. This is a place where just mostly degenerate, stupid things happen all the time. So if they're saying Muslims are evil, Muslims are terrorists all the time, we show actually these are peaceful people who are just gathering and not bothering anybody. You fight back against that, and that's important.
Again, this is a Muslim country to fight back. This is a Muslim country.
It's not a Christian country either. If you look at John Adams' Treaty, Tripoli, 1790, they said specifically, the founding fathers said this is not a Christian country.
I'll say this. I'll say this. Let me just say this really quick. Go ahead. I'll say this really quickly. First of all, again, and I want to reiterate this because I know this shit's going to get clipped up, and I want to make sure the Clippers catch this part, if anything. If you are concerned about Muslims praying more than Epstein, more than Iran, more than the other issues our country faces, more than the fact that our government is subverted, Donald Trump is subverted, like, you're an idiot, and I don't speak to you, and my talking points are not to talk to you. But what I am saying is the ROI is not there Islamically, politically, culturally. I just wanted to tie that together. In terms of like you saying Times Square is degenerate and stuff, I mean, yeah, the entire United States is degenerate. You can argue the United States is more so kind of, look, it's obviously majority Christian. Culturally, it's majority Christian, Protestant. Now, Protestants are kind of loose in their religion. They're damn near secular. They're half naked. They don't practice. They never go to church except for Easter and Christmas. Understood. Culturally, though, I don't think it's necessary for us to try and like fight back. I don't think that battle really exists. And maybe that's in my experience. By the way, I live right outside of New York. I'm very close and I'm in New York all the time. I feel like Muslims have more than enough room there to practice and be public with their religion without praying in public in this mass congregation. I see guys in kufis walking down the street all the time. You know, brother, like it's like New York is vibes during Ramadan. You know,
I'll just say this because since you guys are having this discussion, like even if you don't agree that this is a Christian country, it's more of a Christian country than a Muslim country, and that's a fact.
Well, here's the important point. This prayer in Times Square, if you look up the definition of Fatiha and how we worship God and God alone, is far more Christ-like than anything else that happens at Times Square. So why are people so outraged about this prayer, which really overlaps a lot with Christianity if it is a majority Christian country? But when you see drug deals and you see all the stuff that goes on in Times Square, half-naked protests, slut walks, gay pride parades, this has nothing to do with Christianity, and they don't say a word. But this prayer overlaps with Christianity so much. And so if it's a majority Christian country, there should be like, okay, actually, this is good that they're worshiping God. They're worshiping what the Vatican Church says is the Father. They're showing peace and solidarity. They're not bothering anybody. And they're showing brotherhood. That aligns with the idea and overlaps with the argument that it's a Christian country.
Let me be clear about this, man. When I say that public prayer is retarded, I'm talking specifically about New York Times Square. I don't care if you do it in a park. I don't care about any of that. My argument is literally a limited purview of Times Square only because of its significant social, cultural, and economic significance. Like people are obviously going to get pissed off watching Muslims pray at Times Square when we are still living in a 9/11 era. Again, I'm a little bit older, so I can remember back. Maybe younger people might not remember. I get a lot of your audience is younger and they don't get it, but there's always been this negative stigma against Muslims, and I look at it like praying at a culturally significant location like that is gonna backfire, and it has more downsides than upsides. Are there upsides? Sure, but I think there's more downsides. And then the other thing too that's important, if you went ahead and took Christians and you took them to a significantly cultural location, let's say UAE, which is, not really a Muslim country. It's a Muslim country, but it's not necessarily religious. You took 50 Christians and they pray in front of the Burj Khalifa, bro, they're going to jail. So the lack of reciprocation.
Is that even true?
They would 100%.
They would go to jail, Christians, for praying in the UAE?
In front of the Burj Khalifa? Yes, 100%. They would be.
What proof do we have of that?
Okay, let's go ahead and try.
There's no doubt that a Christian public
can pray in front of the Burj Khalifa and not be thrown out and or stopped, bro. They would be stopped immediately.
Absolutely, they could. Why would they not? Why would they not be allowed to? The
point I'm trying to make here is Islam does not allow the same reciprocation that you're asking for. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
There's so many Christians in Iran. They have train stations dedicated to Mother Mary. Lebanon, who Israel's bombing right now. So many Catholics right next to churches. They say that, these Muslim countries allow for other religions to coexist. I think that there's more Christians in Saudi than there are Muslims in America.
Not in a culturally significant location.
I don't think that's true.
Dude.
At the Burj Khalifa, you think Christians cannot pray?
There's not more Christians in Saudi than there are Muslims in America. That definitely can't be true.
Google it.
Bro, again, and this is what makes Islam so good, by the way, FYI, is that it doesn't bend and fold, right? Like that's actually a good thing. But what I'm saying is that you're asking for reciprocation, right, for something that would never be tolerated in a Muslim country. So that adds more fuel to the fire and kerosene. Why people get pissed off when it's
Sneako, there's
America. That's why.
There's 1.2 to 2 million Christians in Saudi Arabia. United States is 3.4 to 4.
What's the ratio to the whole population? How many people live in Saudi?
I understand that. I understand the ratio. The point he's trying to make
but you just proved my point.
Tolerance.
There's more. The percentage-wise, there are more. If you're going to compare it per capita, there's more Christians in Saudi than there are Muslims in America. And they say, this is a Muslim country. Go to a Muslim country. There you go. So it's a smaller. Yeah. It's much smaller here. And again, so I'll ask you this.
Regardless, so the greater point he's trying to make, though, is religious tolerance from Islam is not the same as religious tolerance. That is what's felt in America.
Allow for freedom of religion. We allow for.
We do. We offer Christians protection so long as they pay their tax. That's what it was back in Jerusalem when Umar ibn Khattab took control of it. That's what it's been historically. Muslims have always offered Christians protection. Muslims have always coexisted with Christians peacefully. We've never attacked them. We've never destroyed their churches. We let them erect their crosses. Yeah. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is a public display in a culturally significant area that happens to be a majority cultural, one religion, that being, if it was majority Muslim or, Burj Khalifa, you can even make the argument for anywhere in other Muslim countries like Egypt. The point is a public display in a culturally significant area and where the other religion is the majority can be seen as imposing.
Okay, fair.
Will you agree to that? Fair. Well, is that fair or not?
Okay, I'll agree. But is Times Square culturally significant for Christianity or for Zagbat Goyslop?
It's more culturally significant for Christianity than any
no
other religion.
No. Times Square. What does Christianity have to do with Times Square?
No. I didn't say that. I said if you were to compare it to Islam and Judaism, okay, if you walk down Times Square, majority of the people there are probably going to be what, even if they don't practice.
Times Square
culturally
is,
what?
That's not true. Times Square is all tourists. It's like
they erect a fat ass Christmas tree every year. What are you talking about?
That's in Rockefeller.
It is culturally Christian to some degree.
Rockefeller Center is where the Christmas tree is. Times Square is where all
in New York City, very close to Times Square.
Yeah, but not Times Square. That's my point. So this is where people go to Times Square.
Yeah, but
it's like majority like Indian tourists. You have a lot of European tourists, Mexican tourists, people from South America.
It's a melting pot.
Completely. It's not a Christian area at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a place where you broadcast ads for McDonald's and Netflix slop.
But what's the point? I agree, bro. It's a ton of goy slop. United States is more secularized than anything in the current time. What I'm saying, though, and what are you responding to? Are you responding to the fact that the United States isn't a Christian country? Or are you responding to the fact that we shouldn't pray in public?
No, because if this is like a Christian,
in mass congregation with the speaker,
I can understand if it's like a Christian area where Christians go to pray, like imposing upon a place, like say, like going to the Vatican, for example, like that doesn't make sense.
That's the most extreme example, but certainly,
or even what's the most Christian area of America? It's certainly not Times Square. It's the furthest from that. There's nothing Christian about Times Square at all. It's culturally significant, not for Christianity, but for advertisements and degeneracy.
Yeah, but symbolically, Muslims have no basis there.
For the United States, it's Sneako. Look, bro, it's very simple. It's culturally significant for the United States, and the United States is a Christian majority country with Christian roots. It's that simple, bro. This isn't like, dude. America's not a Muslim country, and it never will be.
It's not a Christian country. It's a country with freedom of religion. The founding father was a Freemason.
It's more of a Christian country than it's a Muslim country. There's literally government holidays that are based in Christianity that are not based in Islam, bro. Like you gotta
Jewish holidays too. And if we're gonna follow the current administration,
bro, this is why niggas hate Muslims, bro. This rhetoric right here, it's like this crazy entitlement to I could pray wherever I want, freedom of religion. I'm just gonna do what I want to do,
yeah,
bro. Just because
American values, freedom of religion.
But here's the thing: just because you could doesn't mean you should, and this is precisely why people get annoyed by Muslims because of this wild.
You said should. Why should we not pray in Times Square? Myron.
I just told you there's more downsides to upsides. There's way more downsides religiously, economically.
That's been proven not true. That's been proven not true if you fall into the hate. Okay, Myron, is Islam the truth?
Yes, bro, but you don't have to force people to look at it.
Nobody forced it was amplified. People saw it because people got really upset. No, people look.
Literally forcing them.
The eyes.
What other reason is there to do it? What other reason is there to pray there with such a huge audience? It's for attention.
The majority of people saw it because it went viral online. The people there, it wasn't like forcing anybody to do anything.
Which proves my point. If it went viral, that was the intention.
But it went viral because of the hate that people have on Muslims. Which is it right or is the hate on Muslims right or wrong?
Look,
it's wrong, and if you believe in it, you're a retard because it's perpetuated by these forever wars that our leaders get us into.
So it's wrong to get mad at it. So let's fight for the truth.
Of course, but
if they are wrong,
but let's take a step back. Do you believe everything I said Islamically has some sort of grounding? It's better to pray in a masjid, yes or no?
Yeah, it's better to pray in Medina than a masjid too.
Why are we arguing
again? Bro, we cannot fit. Everybody could not fit inside a masjid. There were more people that would fit in any New York City masjid.
Sneako, I think New York City has like some of the highest.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm just gonna call it like it is. This is go fucker mentality. This is retard nigga shit.
You're error, bro. They call you a goat fucker, Myron. This is what they call you. You using this is like.
Hold on. No, because
I'm Asian, right? I'm Asian and black. I'm not even a goat fucker. You're like that's what they call Arabs, not Muslims.
I've been listening to my brother debunk all of your fucking arguments systematically. He's absolutely cooked you, and you're still here arguing for it, and it's ridiculous. And this is the go fucker mentality I'm talking about. There's no upside religiously. There's no upside, from a viewpoint. There's no upside in any manner whatsoever. But you're still arguing for it because it's like I can do it, so I'm gonna. This is precisely why people don't like Muslims and get mad because they look at it like just because I can, I'm going to.
That's not why,
bro. You're proving it right.
You're saying that people hate Muslims because they.
My brother dismantled you in every single way, and you're still going on this dumbass topic. Bro, it is not a Muslim country, and it's that simple. This entitlement is why niggas are tired.
It's not a Christian country. And it's a
country than a Muslim country. Even if you make that argument, it's more of a Christian country than a Muslim country. The biggest holiday is literally Christmas. What the fuck is in that? Christmas.
Okay.
Jesus
Christmas has no basis in the Bible. First off, December 25th is not even listed as Jesus' birthday. So this is a more majority pagan holiday where Christmas trees, and obviously it's good. I think it's good people celebrate. Christmas has been secularized and has been infiltrated by marketing. It's this gift giving where you come down the chimney. The majority of Christmas celebrations have nothing to do with Christianity anyway.
It has no biblical backing, but culturally it's Christian. And look, you were saying earlier, okay, Muslims pray in Times Square. What's more Christ-like? Them bowing their heads on the ground, likening themselves to the verse in Matthew where Jesus fell on his face, he prayed. I get it. You're giving people way too much credit for what they deserve. No one's going to look at it that way. Islam, optically, is foreign to somebody who's white American Christian, even though I will agree what we do is Christ-like. We do fast. We do abstain from sex before marriage. We do abstain from alcohol. You're right. But your thought process and your framework to assume everybody else will look at it that way is vehemently wrong, especially when propaganda, mainstream media, everybody who has influence and a voice, most of the people at least, will say the exact opposite and never educate themselves to the extent to actually let people know what the truth is about Islam and how it parallels with Christianity.
So, this is a L, and hold on, it's a L optically, it's a L religiously, it's a L in every single regard. Are there some upsides to it? Sure, but there's way more downsides. And again, like I said before, this entitlement.
Well, you didn't help. I mean, Myron, you were the one pushing the anti-Times Square prayer, like one of the most people, like you were playing into their hand by doing it. You were playing into the Zionist propaganda by yelling about this.
It is more destructive than beneficial is my point. So if there's less upside than downside, then why do it? And I'm telling you, like, this is what I mean when I say, like, niggas are retarded go fuckers, because they don't understand that this has more negatives than positives. And this is why people get mad at Muslims, because it's like, bro, y'all are the minority. You guys do this shit, and you guys would never allow this in your own country. Again, if Christians went
they do allow it in their country.
If Christians went to the Burj Khalifa and did the same exact shit, they would not be allowed to do it.
This is why people you have no proof of that. There's no evidence to support that people get arrested for praying outside the Burj Khalifa. One, two.
No one breaks the law in UAE because they have an apartheid when it comes to foreigners. If a Christian foreigner goes to UAE and tries to pray in front of the Burj Khalifa, they're definitely getting arrested, bro. You could do like 20 years.
Where's your proof of that? Like, you keep saying this as a fact, but there's no truth.
Yeah, the point is though, these Middle Eastern Gulf
level reciprocation that we do in the West at all, bro. Like at all. And that's fine.
Something important.
No, Muslim countries allow for freedom of religion. Wait, Ryad, just one point. Myron keeps saying that this is why.
Wait, let me say this really quick. I swear to God, hang on to it really quick. These Gulf countries and these Muslim countries have theocratic regimes for the most part. So even though they may not be like this hardcore Sharia, Dubai, Qatar, Bahrain, they all have like Muslim elements within the government. That's something the United States does not have. There's no like Christian Bible that rules the law, as we said earlier. So that's the whole point. Like, I think you're kind of missing is these Muslim countries have a theocratic rule that is Muslim. And so Muslims are represented not only culturally, but legally, something that Christians don't have here. And so if a Christian rather, goes to pray in public, and by the way, Coptic Christians exist in Egypt in the large masses. There's so many Orthodox Christians in Egypt. From Sudan, where we're from, there's actually a decent Coptic population. I understand they can coexist, but like a mass spectacle of prayer, like what was done in Times Square, would we met with some sort of demand by the government to not do that shit again? I'm almost positive of that. Although we have seen in the West Bank Christians parading on Easter and all that and talking about Al-Masih, I will grant that because I already know what the rebuts are going to be. But for the most part, right, exceptions don't make the rule. For the most part, if you put a blanket over it, the tolerance is not the same on both ends. That's not our fault. That's not our fault. Can you give me one piece of evidence? That's not our fault.
Where has this happened? Where's one piece of evidence people would be arrested for praying in a predominantly Muslim country?
I didn't say they'd be arrested. I said that the government would respond negatively. I think there would be negative backlash.
Yo, it's simple. The fact that they don't do it is proof in itself. the proof
is that why, or are people not really praying the same way they used to in other faiths besides Islam? Is that really why they're not doing it?
No one wants to end up in jail, bro, in a Muslim country.
You think that's why people aren't praying, because they don't want to get arrested?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Until you provide a piece of evidence here, you're just making this up. And you said that this is why people hate Muslims. This is not why, and you know this. You grew up.
We have to have a little bit of common sense. You seriously think how many people did you have there at Times Square? Like 100?
200.
Okay, you think if I took 200 Christians and they prayed in front of the Burj Khalifa, they wouldn't be stopped or kicked out?
They'd be fine.
Realistically speaking.
There's no where in any sort of legal doctrine in the UAE says that they can't do that.
That's fine. If you
honestly, but you're just saying this. But what's your proof? Like, you're literally citing nothing.
Again, the reason why it doesn't happen is because Muslim countries don't have tolerance for shit like that, which is a good thing.
The UAE has tolerance for things like I like Dubai. No disrespect to the UAE, but they do have a lot of tolerance for a lot of prostitution that happens there. Like they allow a lot of people to walk around. They don't instrict any sort of
but there's other cultures.
Sneako, what's the key? What's the key? It's kept on the low. You're not supposed to be overt about it.
Is it?
Right?
Is
yes,
it? We went the first place we went to. It was literally all over the lobby of the 5 Palm Hotel.
Here's the thing: of that area only. Everywhere else, no. It's supposed. It's like a don't ask, don't tell. But praying in front of the Burj Khalifa as Christians and openly doing it like y'all did in Times Square, that's going to be met with resistance, bro.
Okay.
And if we can't even agree,
there's no evidence to support that. And you keep saying, I want to go back to a point. You keep saying this is why people hate. You keep saying this is why people hate Muslims. That's just not even true. The reason that people have a negative attitude towards Muslims is because of years of propaganda calling Muslims evil terrorists. Saying, like, when they repost videos where, like, they keep posting this video, I'm sure you've seen it, on my birthday when Frank pooped on my rug, and I started clip armor, like, I hate dogs, I love dogs, I'm joking. They use that to be like, Muslims are evil and they hate dogs. The reason people hate Muslims are all lies. The terrorist ideas.
No.
It's not because they're trying to impose and oh my God, they're praying here. It's because they just spread lies. This is that's false.
That's some common sense here, Sneako. Let's have some common sense and higher IQ. If we know that they spread lies, if we know they control the media, if we know that they control the discourse, if we know they have this enormous amount of power in the media to push out false narratives, why the fuck would you add kerosene to it by praying in Times Square when you get no religious benefit? You only hurt yourself optically. It's low IQ.
Benefit. You get religious benefit for praying. You just get more in a masjid. Okay, that's the differentiation. Two, if they're spreading all these lies. Okay, hold on. You said earlier.
Are you?
Okay.
Like my brother, there's no religious benefit to it compared to just praying in a mosque.
No, there still is religious benefit to pray. Praying, you worship is you know this, bro. Yes.
Compared to a mosque?
Yeah, no, we're not compared to a mosque in general. You said there's no religious benefit. That's false. You get religious benefit by praying.
Within Times Square, I'm talking. My argument is specifically Times Square. I'm not talking about public. I'm talking Times Square.
Right.
That my argument is literally only on Times Square.
Okay, you get benefits for praying. Period. You benefit from praying.
You could do it at a mosque and not have all the issue.
I know. I'm aware. You said there's no religious benefit. That's false. You get benefits for praying. Second, if they are spreading all these lies, what's the best way to fight against lies? You said earlier Islam is the truth.
I was just going to answer that.
So if they're spreading lies, the best way to fight back against lies is with the truth, which we all agree. The three of us in this panel, we're all Muslim, right? Islam is the truth. There's nothing wrong about praying. We are allowed, and the whole world is a masjid.
Alhamdulillah, bro. Alhamdulillah.
So if they are lying,
Islam is
I am going to fight with the truth. Islam is the truth, and I won't compromise. This is the truth. Whatever the people want to say, they could say it, and they're wrong. They will try to spread more lies. Islam is the truth, and I won't compromise about that to fit some weird idea that people will hate it and it's bad.
Yeah, but bro, I agree. I think Islam is the haqq. Couldn't be more true. Alhamdulillah. What I'm saying, though, let's say 9/11 never happened. Let's say there was never this idea perpetuated against Muslims that they were terrorists or they invoked for terrorism, they did 9/11, so on and so forth. Let's say that never existed and Muslims were never demonized and they went to go to pray in Times Square. I still think there would be a response of like, hey, this isn't courteous. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. So I think you're looking at it from an angle of, well, we need to fight back. Fuck that. They're saying that we're terrorists and shit. Well, we're going to show them that our religion is more Christ-like. Okay, yeah, I mean, it is more Christ-like. I agree with that. But I don't think that praying in public and provoking people and being
I don't think so.
A display or invoking a display of less courtesy will actually help that narrative.
I don't think so.
I don't see the return there.
Especially because that specific area is a place where protests happen literally every day. Where loud people waving flags of foreign countries, Iranian flags.
Yeah, but Salah is not a protest. Prayer is not a protest, akhi.
Okay, so then without 9/11, a prayer is peaceful. A prayer is majority quiet. So, yeah, no, if there wasn't propaganda, then people would not have a problem with it, especially if they don't have a problem with protests.
But what does protest have to do with anything?
Because if people aren't outraged about protests. This is like a town square. This is where people meet. This is where they congregate. That's what it's for.
Of course they are. If a group of Christians go to Times Square right now and protest against abortion, they'll be met with backlash in mainstream media the next day. A bunch of libtards will go crazy.
Right.
So any sort of action will revoke a response. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, prayer has no purpose there. Prayer has no prayer is ibadah. It's not a celebration. It's not an act of courage. It is, we're going to pray in our masajid because it's constitutionally protected and we can do that without any harm or any sort of backlash or anybody bothering us for that matter because people were screaming. Now, in regards to the time of the Prophet, ﷺ, if he was praying in public because maybe there weren't as many masajid and there weren't that many Muslims, that's different. He's a prophet. His job is to spread Islam. Our job can be to spread Islam, but in a way that will be met with the least resistance possible. I think that's doing da'wah like that of Uthman ibn Farouk, Warner. That's my position. And I think that's a really fair position to have.
I think the point was proven because the outrage that Myron's having right now over praying in Times Square, there was no outrage about the Jews celebrating the Antichrist. And so if this is a Christian country, which is what he's saying.
Get them out of here too. I said, get them the fuck out of here too. I said the same thing,
there
bro.
There was. And we responded to that on stream. And there was outrage on Twitter.
Overall, there was not. So if we
I literally said these Jews out of here, bro. I said the same shit, man. Like again, America's a Christian country. You might not agree with that, but it's definitely more of a Christian country than a Muslim country, and it's definitely more of a Christian country than a Jewish country. Even though we got retarded evangelical Christians here, I said get those niggas out of here too. I'm consistent on this. Like
the whole administration right now, because they use that idea of it's a Christian country to get subverted by Judaism to believe God must bless those who bless the state of Israel, to say that this is a holy war. And Hegseth thinks that he's a crusader, even though the Crusades were about reclaiming Jerusalem for the Christians, and Jerusalem's owned by the Jews. So this idea, it's a Christian country. This is how the entire administration, dominated by evangelical Christians, should be separate from Catholics and Orthodox, that these people are pretty much just worshiping Jews and don't even worship and do anything Christ-like at all. They've used this narrative to bring us into a war. So, I mean,
that's why I say
dying on this hill has not been effective.
No, that's why I say, though, culturally it's Christian more so than religiously. Look, Christianity has been washed time and time again. It's diluted. And so there's so many different denominations. You got Protestantism, you got evangelical Protestantism. They like in the Old Testament to fulfill their prophecies of Christ coming back, but then they need the Antichrist. So that's why Israel needs to expand. I get it. And that's kind of the whole ideology that Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump are invoking, indirectly or on purpose. Who knows whether it's inadvertent or not. But I think still the country is still culturally Christian. That's what he's trying to say, is this can be seen as something that's rather provocative, even if people are Catholics and they're still having sex and drinking. And it doesn't still take away from the fact that these people do identify as Christian. Religiously, if they were to be asked what they celebrate, what holidays they identify with, it would be that of Christianity. I think that's like the greater point to be made.
It has nothing to do with how the country identifies. Like, look, if they're not, devout Christians, that's irrelevant. What I'm talking about is it's still a Christian base.
It doesn't really seem like that anymore, especially with the administration, but
what happened to bro? Look, we can agree to disagree. Let's have Goyim unite. Okay, we're all Goy. There's 3 Gentiles in this call right now. None of us are chosen people. We'll all be targeted at some point. You guys have already been targeted. I'm potentially next.
Hold on. Yo, Sneako's part chosen, bro. He's part Jewish.
My mom's not, and my grandfather's is 50%, which we found out. Yeah, 12%. Still Goyim based off the mother thing. And if we agree, this is why I'm saying Goyim need to unite. Right? Islam does not pose a threat in America. It's all lies being spread. And if the number one enemy of the Israeli Jewish Zionists is Muslims, then getting angry and saying goat fucker and this is terrible and you're retarded, you are pushing their Hezbollah propaganda. That's what they are saying. So why repeat it? If Loomer and Jake Lang and all these people are saying the exact points that Myron, you're saying right now, that this is terrible, they're taking over this. Okay, if Goyim unite, then don't add fuel to the fire when we already know that Netanyahu is paying influencers $7K to spread anti-Muslim propaganda. Playing into their hand and doing their bidding is exactly against the idea of Goyim uniting.
Yeah, but he's not really.
Bro, if you're a retarded Muslim, I'm going to call you a go fucker. If you're a dumb Jeet, I'm going to call you a dumb Jeet. Like, it's consistent, bro. Like, I use,
Myron, I'm not even Arab. Based off that, you're a goat fucker and I'm not. Like, this has nothing to do with Islam.
It's about, here's the thing. It's a very individual thing based on IQ and how they
whether the abrasive message and language is met with receptivity or not still doesn't negate from the fact what he's trying to say. And by the way, this guy is greenlit by the ADL, the SPLC. Myron's canceled to fucking hell. So, like, you can argue maybe he's doing their bidding, but at the same time, he's been one of the biggest voices against them and exposing them systematically with all the intricacies.
I give Myron the credit he deserves.
I'm saying, I know you do. I've seen you say that, but I'm saying this to make a greater point. It's not that he's intentionally trying to do their bidding. I think that's what people and Muslims are trying to spin it off. I think he's trying to call out Muslims. I think he's trying to call out Muslims for doing something that can hurt them when it's not in their greater benefit in an already very tense cultural situation where we all do need to unite. Sneako, tell me this.
I'm the least. Hold on. I'm the least biased person. Like, I call out stupidity whether it benefits me or not. Whether you're black, white, Indian, whatever. Like, even if I'm a part of that class and they do some dumbass shit, I call it out.
You don't call out
100%.
You don't call out white people, bro.
Are you serious?
When do you call out white people?
Nah, we did just make fun of white people for like 30 minutes the other day on stream. We called them school shooters.
But it doesn't go viral. I cook white people all the fucking time, bro. It's just that it never goes viral because white people don't give a fuck.
We should be cooking. Most white people in the are very, but then we should be cooking the white people who have no idea about Islam and that are falling into the propaganda more than people that are the subject of the propaganda.
But we cook those people,
women, bro. I cook them for not controlling their women. I cook them for being fucking, pussies. I cook them for being losers. I cook them for being controlled by progressives. Like, dude,
okay, great. These are all things that are wrong, right?
That's not the point. The point is I'm consistent. That's my argument. Is I'm consistent. You try to say I don't attack people.
We should be consistent and call things that are wrong, right? You call things that are wrong. People that are sipping too much, that are allowing the women to do everything. Is Islam wrong?
That's not the argument here, bro.
That's my argument.
No, but he's saying the way they're going. He's saying the way they're going about Islam could be wrong.
Like, no, you're arguing that I'm calling go fuckers is bad. I'm saying I have the same energy for everybody, regardless of who they are, even if I'm a part of that class. That's what I'm trying to say.
But you believe Islam is the truth, and Islamically, there's nothing wrong about what we did, so we didn't do anything wrong.
Praying at Times Square?
There's nothing Islamically wrong about it.
Just because it's not wrong Islamically doesn't mean it's not retarded.
Okay, but so now you shifted the goalpost. You just said you call it everything that's wrong, so now it's retarded. Why? It's retarded for the propaganda or whatever, but it's not morally wrong.
I've always
hang on. I have a question, Sneako.
Really, I've been saying it's retarded and they're dumb go fuckers for a minute, and everybody's been losing their minds. That's literally why everyone's mad at me, because I said they're dumb go fuckers for doing that.
My point is, we should be consistent about
the whole time. My position on it the whole time is that it's retarded and go fuckers are doing this shit because there's no upside. That has been my position on the Times Square specifically. And I know your chat's gonna bitch because they're a bunch of retarded ass niggas too. But the point I'm trying to make is I've been extremely consistent on this. I've said from the beginning, praying at Times Square is fucking retarded. Anyone that tries to justify it is a go fucking retard because there's zero upside. That has been my position from the whole time. And I talk shit about everybody. It's just that these fucking guys in your chat are losers and cry.
You said there was some upside. You shifted around a couple times. I mean,
there's far more downside. There's far more downside than upside. Far more downside.
Wait, let me just. I just want to ask this really quick, Sneako. Quick question, and this is like a good faith question. You tell me the honest answer. If Goyim must unite, which I agree, I think Goyim have to unite. Is praying in Times Square publicly the way that we did helpful towards that cause? And you may say, well, the blame is on them for not seeing through. But can't we kind of be a little proactive and just take to the masjid if it's going to cause some sort of negative Christian response that can be negated by praying in the masjid? Then we can align with them later to actually defeat the real enemy.
It's not a negative Christian response. It's a negative Hasbara propaganda.
There has been though. There has been.
Right. People that have been brainwashed.
For example, Nick is smart, and Nick wasn't happy about it. And everybody who follows Nick, or a lot of grapers, are Christian. So there's that.
But if they're following the Christian perspective, then they should equally be as mad about the things that happen in Times Square every single day, and they are. And that's what it was supposed to point out. The double standard. The Antichrist celebration that happened the next day, nobody talked about it because Zionist media dominates, and this stuff is not going to go viral because people believe in Judeo-Christian values. This is the problem. They don't understand that these people are celebrating.
Facts. What does that have to do with us, though? What does that have to do with us calling out, saying Muslims maybe should pray in the masjid? What does that have to do? I agree, but those two things exist at the same time without canceling one another out.
If a bunch of Christians prayed in front of the Burj Khalifa, I would call them retarded Christ cucks, by the way. Like I am not biased, like at all, as a matter of fact, because I'm the least religious person here. Okay. So I call like it is. So I'm extreme. Like if some Christian niggas prayed in front of the Burj Khalifa, I said you guys are fucking retarded. I disagree.
Christ cucks. I think if Christians went to go pray in front of Burj Khalifa, I would really be happy. Wallah, that would be a great sight to see. And I encourage them to go do it. And there's no evidence supporting that they'd be arrested for, which you keep on claiming. I think it's good. If Christians keep on praying more, I would love to see that. And I want to see more of that. I want to see more unity for them.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we can agree to disagree. I think some of the points that I made, you can kind of see through to it a little bit. I think I'm being somewhat fair and charitable in why I'm saying I feel like it's not the best idea. Regardless, though, the point is, I think that kind of public spectacle of prayer or whatever, and I know it's not an intentional spectacle, but it could hurt the movement of Goyim Unite. It could kind of destroy that alliance or put a chink in the armor that we can't afford to sustain right now. That's kind of like the point as well. That's another thing that I didn't even mention earlier, but, you know, if we want to unite, if we want to be a united front, maybe we should try and practice the religion in a way that won't provoke one another. And if that means praying in Times Square is going to cause some sort of negative Christian backlash, then maybe we should avoid that. Now, look, and I'm going to say it again because there's new viewers. This is not the biggest issue. And I don't even think Nick made this the biggest issue. He spoke about it because you guys are fighting and whatever, it was funny. But I think anybody who makes this a glaring issue over everything else, which my brother and I haven't, by the way, it's just so happens that everybody clips up the Times Square situation in regards to praying more than anything else. If you make this the most glaring issue in politics in the United States culturally, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. This is probably number 10 on the list. I agree. But we never prioritize this ever. Go ahead. What's your point?
I mean, Myron he got
No.
The
first, no, I'll tell you, bro. I'll tell you. No, I see why you're saying that, dude. The Dom guy on Twitter had clipped up a clip of him talking about it last year. He went on a monologue really quickly and then he moved on. It just happened that got like 1 million or 3 million impressions on Twitter. But
he retweeted
we've been talking
and
about.
then he doubled down and he kept. Yeah, he doubled down.
But he retweets every single one of his. He retweets every single one of his talking points. That is a talking point. He's going to stand on it.
You did an 8-part thread about why goat fuckers are retarded about this prayer. It's not like it was like one
thing. He did an 8-part thread about Iran as well. He does threads about every topic.
And that was your point, that if you invest too much energy into something that is so minor, a prayer in Times Square, if you really analyze it, 200 people prayed at Times Square for an hour. Investing energy to this is a waste of time and is goy slop and is falling into their hand. So,
all right. So
I agree.
Number one.
So
I
just looked it up. With Myron.
No, I think that this conversation is that. I think this conversation is like kind of falling like them boys are watching the stream right now, rubbing the shit out of their hands. Like, this is amazing for them. Like, but I think his 8-part thread was just to further cement a point that he got attacked initially for making. My brother made this point in a soft way prior, and then Muslims shat on him. By the way, I got some negative Muslim responses.
Retarded go fuckers.
Yo, I'm standing on that. I'm standing on this. Let me be explicitly fucking clear about this. If you do not see that praying at Times Square as a Muslim when we have a Zionist controlled media is bad optically, bad economically, bad in every single way, not even religiously is upside, you're a fucking retarded go fucker. And then also, I just looked it up. It is completely prohibited to pray as a Christian publicly in the UAE. So you're wrong on that as well. Sneako, look, bro.
Can you read what's the proof?
Yes, it's law number 9. It's the law. Literally, it's, let's see here. You cannot pray publicly. Federal law number 9 of 2023 regulation of houses of worship for non-Muslims explicitly prohibits practicing worship, religious sites, or rituals outside licensed houses of worship. So you can't do it.
Okay, and so if that's true, the difference is then there's freedom of religion in America, which is like part of the core tenets of this country. And if there's not freedom of religion there, then that's their law. Obey the law of the land. We have freedom of religion, and we didn't break the law.
You move the goalpost. Yeah, my point is that that level of reciprocation doesn't exist in Muslim countries. Yeah. And just because
it does in Lebanon, it does in Saudi, and it does in, I guess, not in the UAE, but it does in Lebanon, which is a perfect example.
Lebanon 100%. Lebanon 100%. Saudi Arabia, you got to check that.
It does not exist in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so Lebanon does not exist. But he just said that it doesn't exist in any Muslim country. Lebanon, perfect example.
Going back to the Twitter thread, my entire argument was based on, number 1, America's a Christian country. Number 2, praying at Times Square is retarded. And then number 3, it's more of a Christian country than a Muslim country. So you lose in that regard. Even if you make the argument,
population-wise, but doctrine-wise, it's not. And that's what you keep saying. It's not like there's no doctrine supporting that.
When they say under God, when they say all these different things, what do you mean?
Oh, under God. They don't say under the Holy Spirit, do they? Under God is what we believe in. So we're actually following that logic. That's what Fatiha says.
All the framers were Christians, bro. Like,
no, Christians and Protestants. George Washington was a Freemason.
The majority of the framers were Christian, bro. Like if you again,
and they specified that they didn't want it, that they did not make this a Christian country. This is from John Adams, the second president.
Muslims have way less argument to say that this is a Muslim country than Christians. This is a Christian.
I didn't say it was a Muslim country. I didn't say it was a Muslim country. I said it was a freedom of religion country.
Okay, and what I'm saying is that it's still not a Muslim country, so therefore praying out publicly at Times Square is retarded because it doesn't look optically for all the other cultural.
It follows American values where we have freedom of religion.
Yeah, but just because something is legal doesn't mean it's a good idea. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Dude, like,
well, you can't. There we go. So it's not legally wrong. It's not Islamically wrong.
We said that was our framework.
Okay,
that was our frame. So that was my wait.
I know it's a framework.
Both of us.
And the greater point is that it's only wrong because of propaganda. So let's fight the propaganda and not play into their hand. That's the bigger point. That because it's not legally wrong and because it's not Islamically wrong, we should and we can be able to do it if we want to. And it's only wrong if you are afraid of the propaganda, but we as Muslims should not live in fear. We don't fear anything. So if it's not incorrect in our religion and it's not incorrect legally, then we could do it, and I'm not going to live in fear. We can let other people do that. If you want to live that way, if you want to live in fear, go ahead, but I'm not going to do that.
you want to pray it
Yeah, but it's
publicly,
not-
bro, go to the country, bro. Like this is retarded.
It's
Like
not-
this,
no,
you can say like, yo, just yo, like go pray, go to a Muslim country. That's why they can say that shit, bro. Because it's like,
Well,
it's crazy.
maybe I would, but who's bombing every single Muslim country? Oh, U.S. and Israel. Epstein regime is bombing them all, and they're not safe. Right now, I'm supposed to be in Medina, but these people, part of the Christian country, these evangelical Christians brought us into a war. All these countries are getting bombed. I can't even go to the airport. I was supposed to be in Dubai last week. Can't go because the airport got bombed. Why? Because of American war.
That's true, but I just want to bring it back so the original position is understood. Look, the framework is this: Islamically, it's a better idea to pray in the masajid. There are legitimate scholars who say praying in Times Square is not correct, and I can pull that up if you want, but I don't even want to go in that direction. Really, the greater point here is that Goyim unite must mean everybody coexists in some way that we can all accept from one another. And the United States is religiously free, so you can go do a backward cartwheel in the street if that means you're praying in some way. No one's saying you can't do it. It's about, is it appropriate? Is it courteous? And is it something that's going to perpetuate the lie that's hurting the alliance we so desperately need to make our countries visitable so we can go and pray in Medina? I think that's the more coherent framework to work from.
Mm-hmm. I think it proved the opposite since then. I think the people that were extremely outraged about that, in retrospect, with this war now, I think it looks so silly. You know, I think people understand that.
There you go. Well, there's what I was showing before. You pray to the same extent that they did it at Times Square. You cannot do that at UAE, and UAE is one of the most relaxed and westernized Muslim countries, and you can't even do it there. So that's what I'm trying to say.
But we have freedom of religion in America, so the point still stands. So we're following the law here. If that's not the law there, it is what it is. It's the law in a lot of other predominantly Muslim countries. So I'm following the law here, and I'm not breaking it. Freedom of religion.
Well, before you said show me proof, and I'm showing you proof now.
Okay,
like,
I'm seeing it, but
was,
the point still stands. Like, you could bring up other Muslim countries where this is allowed. If it's not allowed to Burj Khalifa, sure, but we have freedom of religion here. So it still doesn't change the fact that I'm not breaking the law, and I can do it, and I will.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Reciprocation that you're utilizing is not that argument that you're making is not reciprocated in Muslim countries, which is the basis of my argument that this is why people are annoyed with Muslims, because they don't allow the same reciprocation they demand in countries that they're guessing. That's the whole fucking crutch of my argument, bro. Because that is why I was saying because I had to give you something analogous to show you how ridiculous it sounds to pray in a public location of great economic and cultural influence, and then I used the Burj Khalifa in a non-Muslim country like in a non-religious country to explain that, and I'm correct once again. So again, there's not much upside to praying publicly at Times Square when we know Jews run the media and they use Islamic rhetoric or Islamic terrorism rhetoric to justify.
Myron, you help them.
You help them. I don't see nobody complaining about me talking about in the Times Square. You fucking help them do that. They made you viral.
You're saying that that's their propaganda?
They didn't say shit about me. You did that shit.
No.
Remember all these people they complain about
exactly.
you. Warner doing that.
Myron, that's my point.
I didn't do nothing.
They see you as an ally on this issue. That's the point. You are pushing the same propaganda as them. I am fighting back against their propaganda. They saw you get all mad about this and say goat fucker, and they rub their hands together and they're happy that you're calling Muslims out.
I'm telling you dumped kerosene on something that didn't need to. There was a fire and you dumped kerosene on it. And I'm telling you, dumping that kerosene on it
how did you help?
By telling you the kerosene dumping kerosene on is retarded. That's how I help. And don't do it again.
You amplified this. No, you amplified it a lot.
But you
pushed outrage towards it.
There was a fire. There was a fire. You dumped kerosene on it, and I said that's kind of retarded. You probably shouldn't do that. Then a year later, you dump even more kerosene on it. That's what I'm doing. I'm saying that's retarded. Don't do that. You dump it anyway. Like that. So that's what it is.
It's not praying is not retarded. Like there's not a convincing
praying at Times Square is retarded.
Yeah, praying in general isn't. So
that's not my argument. You could pray. My argument is strictly praying publicly at Times Square is retarded. That is my argument.
Because of propaganda, not because of anything legal, and not because of anything Islamically. So that's the greater point. Do not live in fear of their propaganda and their lies. Do not perpetuate their lies. Praying is good, and I will pray. I am not going to submit to their propaganda. I don't live in fear. If you want to, okay. Yeah, but then don't help them out.
No, look. Fair, but
you're using foolishness to try to say that you're brave. It's just like
I'll say this again. Like if Myron's point or his position on this argument temporarily on the fringe account lines up with that of Laura Loomer and Jake Langs, that doesn't mean that he's trying to perpetuate their narrative. It just so happens that something that Muslims did actually did not benefit them in the favor of optics, media, or in media publicly. That doesn't mean he's taking their side. He's the most anti-Zionist person ever. And again, I know that's not what you're saying, but that's kind of a representation of the argument that you proposed.
I know how they are. Like, I know what they're going to say.
Yeah. And look, regardless of it, I always want to make sure that the religious framework is prioritized at the top. I think that's the biggest thing to pay attention to.
And when you're religious, here's another thing. When you're religious, you're going to inherently be biased. You're not going to see my perspective because I'm coming at it from an extremely, central ground where I have no vested interest really in, oh yeah, let me go ahead and take this side, blah, blah, blah. But like, you're coming from a biased perspective, which is why you have this position, which is fine.
Well,
I'm just telling you that.
I'm coming from, well, you said Islam was, I'm coming from the truth perspective, aren't I?
Okay, but you don't have to go ahead and express the truth in that way because it's more counterproductive than productive. Was what I'm trying to say.
You wear the Cookie Monster hoodie, which is like talking about it's talking about the Holocaust, right? And you want to be uncompromised and show this everywhere and not live in fear. That's the same thing here with the greater truth that Islam
whatsoever to this conversation. That's not analogous whatsoever, dude.
Why not?
Like that is crazy.
There's so much propaganda. You're not supposed to talk about the Holocaust or question the numbers. You say, I'm going to do it anyway. It's the same thing. There's propaganda about this conversation. There's propaganda about Muslims. I'm not going to live in fear and I'm going to speak the truth. You believe that this is the truth about the Holocaust. It's you wear it unapologetically. I'm an unapologetic Muslim. I'm not ashamed. So I'm going to pray. It's the same thing as the Cookie Monster hoodie.
No one's saying anything about praying, bro. It's about praying at Times Square and filming it and making it a spectacle is retarded.
So then why do you why do you wear the Cookie Monster hoodie?
Wearing a t-shirt is not the same as praying at a culturally irrelevant.
Why do you wear it? Why do you wear it?
That's not analogous whatsoever, bro. Are you serious right now?
Let's hear the reason.
This is not analogous whatsoever at all. Like this has nothing to do with it. This is another deflection, another goalpost movement, like you've been doing. Oh, show me proof.
No. Just answer the question. Just answer the question.
Prove that you can't prove the UAE. I show you proof. Oh well, okay, but there's nothing wrong. It's not illegal.
Okay,
bro. Like yo, keep moving the goalpost. It's not.
I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm asking you, why do you wear the Cookie Monster hoodie? It's a simple question.
God, man.
You can't answer this?
Bro, I wear the hoodie because it's fucking hilarious.
Why?
That is why.
Why is it hilarious?
It's hilarious. Because people get triggered over a hoodie, right? It's fucking hilarious. And we know that topic, they lie about it.
Okay. Oh, just like they lie about Muslims. Oh, so you're fighting back against propaganda. Oh, it triggers people for a reason that's unjustified, just like praying when it's legal and Islamically correct too. So fighting back against propaganda, living without fear, not being ashamed is something that's good. Just like a Cookie Monster hoodie.
Dude, are you seriously trying to compare wearing a t-shirt to a mass prayer at a culturally significant location?
What's the difference?
As a minority religion in a Christian country, are you serious right now?
What's the difference?
This was a brain dead example. Like this has nothing to do. Like
you're comparing. Explain. What's the difference? Wait, hold on. What's the difference? What's the difference?
You're comparing wearing a hoodie to praying in a culturally central location in a mass prayer with cameras on versus me wearing a hoodie.
What's the difference? There's cameras on when you wear it to Brandrest. There's cameras everywhere. The switch room is everywhere.
The hoodie is symbolic. It's just him wearing something that he may believe in. But like the prayer is something physical. You're actually doing in
something that we believe in. I believe in Islam. It's representing my beliefs, right? What's the difference?
Yeah, but you representing your beliefs on a t-shirt, that's not analogous. It's kind of a non sequitur because representing your religious belief on a t-shirt is different than actually physically doing it in a place that doesn't represent it. That's like kind of, I'm just saying, that's
okay.
Like,
I mean, when you wear the Cookie Monster shirt in public, this is where it's taboo to question these numbers. It's taboo and it's ashamed and there's propaganda. It's exerting your belief system in a place where the majority of the country, the majority of the Judeo-Christian country doesn't believe in these numbers. What's the difference?
Dude, are you fucking serious? It's an insider joke on a meme, bro. You are talking about praying openly with cameras on at Times Square. Are you serious right now?
Let's break it down further. I know you can do this so without getting angry.
Joke. Okay. Insider joke. No, because I'm not getting angry.
Myron, hold on. What's the joke based off?
You're being dense purposely.
Oh, no.
Wearing a t-shirt with a meme, wearing a t-shirt with an insider meme that isn't visibly apparent is not the same at all.
It is visibly apparent.
Openly pray. No, only, dude, you really, if 100 people walk by me, maybe one or two will know where the joke comes from. Meanwhile, if 1,000 people walk by fucking Times Square, they're going to know there's a bunch of Muslims praying here. It's not the same whatsoever at all.
I mean, I don't know. That's a little facetious. I think people understand what it is. People know the Cookie Monster meme.
Insider joke t-shirt versus praying at Times Square with cameras on with 200.
Myron, what is the joke of the t-shirt? What's the joke? It said you're gonna face palm. Just explain, bro. Explain it in YouTube friendly language. Come on, don't run from the question. Explain it in YouTube friendly language.
No, I can explain it. I'm on YouTube. It's referring to
Ryad,
a historical event in world.
Okay, go.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. We all know what it's about. It's explaining to an historical event in World War II.
Okay. What is the joke?
About the ovens, the number count. What are you? I'm
the joke is.
I would be explicit. I'm on YouTube. That's why I don't want to get.
I'll explain it in YouTube friendly language because you don't want to answer okay, fine. The joke is that
I'll answer. I'll concede if you explain it correctly. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm saying it in YouTube friendly language. The Cookie Monster hoodie is a joke about the numbers that are enforced about the Holocaust, right? And this is a narrative that's been pushed so much in America, that's been used to justify wars, that's been used to push ideas of anti-Semitism. It's part of the major propaganda machine, correct?
Okay.
Coming from the same people who also push propaganda on Muslims. This is a joke. And the reason that Myron wears it is to assert that in a Judeo-Christian country where so much Zionist propaganda is being pushed, I am going to be unashamed and I am not going to live in fear and I'm going to say the truth anyway, even if it makes people upset. Even when there's cameras on, when there's a lot of Twitch streamers around. I don't care if there's gonna be outrage and people are gonna call me a denier or a questioner. I'm gonna not live in fear and do it anyway.
Okay.
That's exactly the same mentality as the Times Square prayer.
Wait.
Exactly the same.
Sneako, here's the difference why you're wrong. I'm doing it in a covert, tactical, and funny manner that is not necessarily as obvious. Meanwhile, you niggas are praying in Times Square.
Covert. Like, when you wore that shirt next to Jack Posobiec.
To say this example is so fucking stupid because it's not analogous whatsoever. I'm doing a covert insider joke. Meanwhile, y'all niggas are praying openly in Times Square.
It's not covert.
Not the same at all.
It's not covert. When you wore it next to Jack Posobiec.
Hold on, people know you're getting joke, bro. How many people know the Cookie Monster joke? Are you serious, bro?
Okay, I'm gonna point it out, and you're not letting me answer.
Yeah, but even if it wasn't covert, if he had a hoodie that was explicit about it, let's say the hoodie was just straight up, that doesn't even respond to the whole point is praying publicly is a physical action that's actually like materialized. Like people can see that, people can hear that, people can interact with that, like people can feel that. If Myron went out in public and did some sort of like joke where he got a bunch of people and like put them in a room and then had them come out coughing or some shit, then that would be the same thing. But like a shirt that just symbolically shows some symbolism that refers to a historical event, yes, it is pushback against a voice that's against him, but it's not doing it in an imposing manner.
Okay,
that's the
fair.
difference.
So you
praying
said
is a little bit more imposing.
So it's more undercover, right? I remember at Turning Point, Myron was wearing that hoodie in a place of where everybody believes in Judeo-Christian values and this is being pushed. And he's like, I'm going to go and do this anyway, even though people don't agree.
I wouldn't even go as far as to say that, but go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead. I wouldn't even.
Majority of people at Turning Point is a Judeo-Christian organization where GOP politics, Judeo-Christian values are being pushed heavily. Everybody knows this, right? This is why Eric or Kirk is talking about anti-Semitism and people there get really upset. He wears the shirt and takes a picture next to Jack Posobiec. It goes viral. Why is Jack Posobiec next to this anti-Semite? Why is this allowed at Turning Point? Why is this here? And it's like a symbol everyone, oh yeah, I don't care what's going on. I'm going to do it anyway. People do know what the joke is. Everybody, you can take 5 seconds to Google it.
But hang on. Everybody
knows the joke. And then also, Sneako, tell the whole story. Who made it go viral?
Other people, the Zionists, right? Just like the Times Square prayer.
Stop anti-Semitism, aka a very nuanced and small account that said, "Oh, it's within the Jews." And then what they do is, because we know that they do this, they pushed it out. They said, "Everybody share this. Everybody share this." It was within that group of people only. Versus when you're praying at Times Square, everybody sees that shit.
But who's pushing the propaganda against it, and who's the vehicle? Who's the one demonizing Muslims the most? The same people mad about that shirt. They're the ones pushing Judeo-Christian values. They're the ones spreading that everywhere. And then you did echo their sentiment, but this is coming from the Laura Loomer Jigsaw people and coming from all the same talking heads that got mad at the hoodie.
Sneako, it sounds good on the surface, but the intricacies make it non-analogous because, again, it's not this action that he's actually doing in public to impose on people. And I'm not saying that's the intent of Muslims, but you got to realize, too, Jews are a very small minority of the United States, yet they have a disproportionate amount of influence and control. So him doing that is a fight back against something that's actually oppressing him. I don't think Muslims are actually getting oppressed, and we're doing something physically.
You don't think Muslims are getting Randy Fine is saying...
No, in the United States, okay, bro, look, I get Randy Fine, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth just said something negative about Islam. Donald Trump has been shitting on Islam for years.
So what are you talking about?
That doesn't affect my ability to practice my religion, though. These guys are all retards.
Of course
the GOP
it
is full of
does.
Zio shows. That doesn't change my ability to practice. No, it doesn't.
Because,
in what way?
No. Because it pushes propaganda, and then people feel
We still send money to Gaza. We still fast. We still have our Suhoor Fest in Chicago and these big Muslim cities like Houston. We still have our masajid. Our masjids are constitutionally protected. People like Jake Lang are actually pushed back against by Christians. Look, is there a disproportionate amount of attack on Muslims to weaponize an attack against Iran that's probably coming very soon?
Sneako, you complained about me wearing the hoodie at brand risk, by the way, FYI. You're part of the propaganda too.
Hang on.
But
Look,
Myron, hold on. We have 1 second. Because, and the greater point is that the uncompromised truth, Myron, the uncompromised truth is not the Cookie Monster meme, or not what happened in World War II. Islam is something we don't compromise about. I'm not going to die on the hill of a meme t-shirt about the Holocaust, but I will die for Islam. That transcends everything. And Ryad, can you finish?